People deluded. Now, you guys know I love youth football and following youth prospects and following their development and things like that. It's a hobby of mine, it's a passion of mine. One day, potentially, I'd love for it to turn into something that can pay my bills, because who wouldn't like to marry their passion with what pays their bills and is their profession? But obviously, with loving young players and seeing young players' development and things like that, people, I see a lot of things. I see some young players get it all too soon. I see some unhealthy expectations placed on young players. Injuries is the biggest killer, I think, because you can't really, well, you obviously can foresee injuries and recurring injuries and things like that with the physios and that, but really and truly you can't really factor in for injuries. And I feel, especially when you're 15, 16 to 18, obviously when you're in your mid-20s or even late 30s, of course it's difficult to recover these injuries, and when you're a main player in the team it's difficult. But I do think, obviously the younger you are the better the injury is, because in theory your body should be able to heal quicker. But I do think the flip side of that is, if you look at it from 15 to 16, or just say 16 to 18, that 2 year gap in becoming professional footballers, training full-time, playing 90 minutes twice a week and whatever, injuries can kind of set you back, people, because we all know physically it's a lot, mentally it's very demanding. And them injuries there, I do see injuries hold back a lot of players. And sadly, at my club, Arsenal, how many young players have I spoken about that have left and are still here? And you hear me say, oh, if they can get over their injury problems, if they've had some injuries have played a part. It's sad, people, not just Arsenal, everybody. You can't factor in injuries are part and parcel. So I do think injuries play a part, but I do think two pitfalls as well, or some other pitfalls I see, is first and foremost, I don't know any other way of describing it, people, other than what I will refer to as stagnation. What I mean by that is, have you ever seen a promising young wonder kid, or I don't like them terms, but a young promising player? You're excited to see him as a first year scholar. As a schoolboy, he's turning it up, but as the 2 years that follow as a scholar, he's really mediocre. The ability is there, the talent's still there, but something is missing, whether that's applying himself to a greater standard, whether that's being more galvanized, whether that's injuries that have robbed him, or what I've seen. Well, we'll get on to the other bit, but stagnation. For instance, at my club, Arsenal, the team I love, there's two, I'm not going to name drop them because that's unfair, but there's two players, young footballers, one in the 23s and one in the 18s. I was excited when they turned first year scholars, people, and I still think they have ability. They were playing for England at youth level. They were showing it. They were showing it when they were playing at higher age groups. They could do everything. Dance past the player. I even made a couple videos about them. And the next few years I haven't really seen them kick on. I've seen them playing within themselves. I've not really seen them on the first team sheet. When you're looking at the young players that you're looking to break through at the club, they're not on my lips, not on a funny man thing, and they're not on anybody else's lips. So stagnation, people. I'm sure you've seen it as well, and it can play a part. I even see it at United. What's that? Is it Gribben? Not to name drop him, but there was a time United were begging him to stay. People, he almost went Liverpool, and now he's trialing. Last time I saw Sheffield United, he's had injuries and other things, but the main thing is stagnation. Like I said, there's two players in Arsenal's academy who I felt, First seeing them, they had potential to be players, and I still think they're going to, but I don't think it's going to happen here purely because they're stagnating, and they're approaching the age of 18, 19 now, where they've really got to think about what they're going to do. Of course, it's lovely to be at Arsenal's top 6 clubs playing under 23s. At the end of the day, you're playing for Arsenal, but you're not going to develop. Like I said, the ability is there, but it's just stagnation. When I look at the other top young players in the 23s and 18s, and I look at them, there's not really a correlation, and it does look like a bleak picture at making it at this club. Stagnation, whether that's injuries, whether that's, I do believe players play within themselves as well. When you have ability, or when you're in academy, there's more than just being a good player. You really got to be galvanized. You really got to improve it. You really got to play to the point where everybody that watches your games, they're leaving that game saying it's the Deluded show. Say I'm a young player, people, and I'm at Arsenal. We're all at Arsenal because we're good technical footballers and we've all got ability. What's going to make me stand out, you get it? But if that guy's playing inconsistently, but me on top of being a good footballer, I'm consistent, I'm hungry, I'm playing to a greater standard, I'm showing that I need to step up out of this under 18s level or 23s and go out on loan. Like every game you're remembering it's the Deluded show. Boy, did you see the tackle Deluded made or the pass Deluded made? everyone from the first team manager, if he looks, so in this example, Unai down to tea ladies, everybody has to have your names on your lips. Because you look at Iwobi, I think that happened to Iwobi. Nobody was saying Iwobi was going to make it at Arsenal, people. Nobody, even Arsenal coaches didn't. They think he'd have a career, they didn't think he'd make it here. But there was a season or two, I remember there was definitely one in the youth league. Iwobi was playing out of his skin in every youth Champions League game that they had there, or youth league, youth gen, whatever it was called. Every 23s game, or 21s at the time, he's banging it, he's scoring goals. On top of Wenger probably just taking a chance on him, because I do think if Wenger was an Arsenal manager, Iwobi wouldn't have made it here. He got a chance. What separated Iwobi is he was playing to that great standard. He became galvanised. It's not just about having ability. Obviously, if you've got ability, it will see you through. But I do see a lot of players stagnate, whether that's through not pushing themselves or other things. They've got a bit. I see a lot of players unable to control their mindset and emotions, because there's a lot of things at this level that are out of your control. Team selections, it might not be down to why you're playing, why you're not. It might not be your ability as to why you're not playing. There's a lot of politics, especially as you enter the under-18s world. There's sometimes, obviously, as a young player, you can be naive. You can assume I'm not playing because I'm not playing. But sometimes it's not because of your ability. It's because there's politics behind the scenes, which happens. So the mindset and controlling emotions as well is what I'd say is that. I'd say on top of pushing yourselves, players can become comfortable when everybody's telling you you're good, when you're playing for a good team, when everybody like myself are making videos speaking about you and whatnot. You can start to believe in yourself. But that can all be snatched in a second, people. These players, let's just leave it as Arsenal, have worked specifically to get to this level, people. Have worked their bums off to get to this level, and it can be taken in an instant. A lot of players are aware of this, but do they truly understand this? I'm not always sure. And I'd also say one thing, especially for the maverick players or the standout players, you know how you... I'm not saying they like this, but to paint a picture, like, you know, Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Jadon Sancho, coming up through academies, these are standout players, people, the best player in their team, or top 3 9 times out of 10. I'd say I'm not saying these players, any of these players, but just to paint the picture for you lot, one thing I've seen, when you're a technically good footballer, one of the best, it comes down to, are you a team player? Now, you can learn all of this as you get into the first team, and you can learn it all with age. But what I mean by that is I see a lot of players who are good, but they play for themselves. They don't work as hard for the team. They don't track back. They lose the ball. They get in their emotions. And because of their ability, it will see them through for the next couple of years. It will see them through to 19 years of age. They'll get the scholarship. They'll get the pro. They'll get everybody talking off their lips. But eventually, you've got to adapt your game and put the team first and put your ego to the side. When I say sometimes selfish players, I don't mean they get the ball and they're not passing to no one. I mean selfish in that I think boxing is the best example. I believe in a lot of boxing rings. There's a saying, leave your ego at the door. I do think to a degree that should be applied in football, because you need an ego, especially when you're these mavericky players. But you've got to be able to play for the team. And I don't always see people being team players, people. That's just my humble opinion. So on that note, I don't have anything more to add, people. I just thought I'd speak about that. Thank you for watching. Deluded. Comment, subscribe. Make sure you check out my podcast link in the description. I'm out.